20 minutes of the best top expert tips and hacks to make your life better. LifeHakx. Technology, business, multimedia, wellness and health, events, reviews, and more. We are back with Anthony Jacquin from Jacquin Academy of Hypnosis. Hi, Anthony. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
It's great to have you on the show because you are explaining the differences between stage hypnosis and hypnotherapy and the importance of people understanding that stage hypnosis is a temporary phenomenon that happens because people volunteer and participate, just like hypnotherapy is also requiring your participation. So speaking of which, is there any top hacks you have for like a therapist or for people dealing with wanting therapy? Is there a moment, can you look at someone and say, yeah, you're not there yet. You're not ready. I mean, is there a stage where they come in and they say, well, I want to quit smoking, and then you have to make a decision? Is there certain things that you have to, tips that you have to know in advance?
Yeah, indeed.
Before you waste their time and yours.
That's a good point. Because sometimes if people think it's just going to be a passive experience and you do it to them, they may come and they're not committed. So my first question to every person who comes through my door after the small talk is, what do you want? And I listen to their answer. And if their answer is, mostly about what their doctor wants and what their wife wants and what their children want, then I'm going to dig a bit deeper and say, what do you want? What do you want? Right. And we find out. So there's one point. Another question I ask a lot is, I'm sure you've been thinking about this for a while. Why now? Why are you here now? Why today? And again, it doesn't sound like much. Why now? But it often has a very powerful impact on the person and their reflection on their readiness. And that's why I like asking that question, see what comes up. It's hard to
I imagine it anchors feelings to the, like you said, if there's a little tiny bit of thought involved for the person, it kind of then puts the emotion in to the situation instead of just a blank answer of I'm here because.
Yeah. And often there is a now. Often there is a because this. And then then you've kind of got there within the first minute. The other thing I'll ask is I'll sit back and kind of say, convince me. Why do you want to be a non-smoker? Give me 4 or 5 reasons, things you're sick of, things you're looking forward to. And, they've only been there for a couple of minutes, but now the task is with the client of mine, which is you tell me why we should spend 75, 90 minutes together and do this thing. And again, it's similar to the why now, but that then gives it some color and personalizes the session.
Okay. And so now speaking of which, you're used to, of course, having in-person sessions, but with the possibility of more fun lockdowns, what is the situation of online therapy? Is it as successful? Is it possible to do?
Yes. I mean, I was doing it before lockdown, not exclusively. I still had an office back then. I gave that up when they told me we could be locked down for 3 months. I was like, I'm just going to give that up now. So that seems a very long time ago. But I work almost exclusively online. It is just as effective. It's the same thing. And I was someone who held on to this intangible thing of no, but you're in person, you're looking them in the eyes, you kind of. But we've got Zoom, we've got incredible technology here, or Skype. Or whatever. Sorry, yeah, some people are still using Skype apparently, but we've got the technology. It's crystal clear. In a way, it's more intimate. And what I love about it is I do a lot of my work in groups, and everyone has a front row seat. Everyone has the privacy of being on their own call rather than sitting in a room. So, effectiveness is the same. Opportunity for therapists. Well, everyone has got a global business. I built my business advertising locally, in a medium-sized town and trying to find those clients within my postcode. So now, there's no limits.
Right. So what would be some of your top hacks for people who have gone to your academy, got their training at anthonyjacquin.com, starting a business, is that something that you do in the academy, sort of marketing and how to get up and running as well?
We do. I mean, it's a big challenge, and partly because many of the people who get into the business have never really thought about sales. They're not desperate to be the center of attention and market themselves and all of that kind of stuff. So there is some learning that needs to be done. You need to treat this like any other business, or it will just be a hobby, which is okay because you can help people still. But certainly we include, business training. We have an association for our members. We have a weekly business meeting, and we just work on it constantly, consistently. For me, it's very much about building relationships. One of my business mentors, a guy called George Bryant, has a wonderful strapline to what he does called relationships beat algorithms. He uses email a lot, he automates a lot, but it's real. It's not spam. It's like, if you're selling a product or service, it shouldn't be about selling it. It should be about ensuring that they have a successful experience with the product, and sort of aim, to those higher values of what it might mean to have that. So, yes, it's important. So build relationships. When you are in person, talk about it. Go to business networking meetings. You'll instantly be the most interesting person in a room, and learn to give your pitch. Learn to, you're speaking, in our case, directly to real human needs, rather than, a new telephone, new photocopier. These are real human needs. So it's relatively easy to touch people at that point of need. And we have a service which can genuinely help. So it's our duty to.
Yes, I mean, and speaking of which, which is, as being a journalist, you'd think that journalism would be about reaching people and helping them, and it's turned more into fear mongering and hurting them. And we see this with the mental health rates in children, in adults, in the elderly. Everyone is suffering because of not just the lockdown, but because of bad news. So, and the absolute 100% focus on bad news. So with that, what would you recommend for people who may not right away have the ability to reach out and have a hypnotherapist or a hypnosis experience? What's the best top self-hypnosis hacks that you can offer?
Switch off the news as a start. Spend less time on social media. Actually develop some awareness of time and your screen time and things like that. I think it's the easiest thing you can do. I'm not saying do away with it. It's like never having chocolate again, but reduce the toxicity that's coming into your mental environment. Beyond that, I'd encourage people to engage with breath work. Actually, even before you think about self-hypnosis, there's so many good resources out there that will show you how on practice session 1 you can feel differently and you can enhance your well-being. In most ways it will be measured. You don't have to be like tripping out on breath work to do that. You can make changes within a minute. And in terms of self-hypnosis, just find a way. I mean, I have free resources on I have a Substack I started last year. I decided to put a 7-step self-hypnosis program out there. The first step is stop, like the mindfulness technique, is stop, take a breath, observe what's happening, and then begin your practice. Learn to sit, learn to do that, learn to stop, learn to return your attention to your sense of self just for a second. I'm here. Right now, I'm here. I'm aware.
In the moment.
I'm present. Yeah. Just do it without studying it, without reading.
But we'll definitely put the links to that on lifehakx.com for our listeners. That's with a K and an X. Yeah. And we will also put all of Anthony's links on our website as well. And any little blogs he wants to add will be there.
Why work harder when you can work smarter and live better? LifeHakx.
We're back with Anthony Jacquin from Jacquin Hypnosis Academy. Hi, Anthony. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Enjoying your questions today.
Wonderful. Well, we have discussed hypnosis, we have discussed hypnotherapy, the differences, the dangers, and the non-dangers to the whole idea of programming. What I'd like to know more about is your book.
Sure. There were lots of books about hypnotherapy and a few about stage hypnosis. I wrote a book, I don't know, 10 or 12 years ago, all about doing hypnosis anytime, anywhere. It's what I call impromptu hypnosis. Some people call it street hypnosis. So a bit like you might have street magic. It's not happening on stage or, in a cabaret. It's happening in your face, in your hands, at your table. So I encourage hypnotists to learn impromptu hypnosis. Buy my little book, Reality is Plastic, The Art of Impromptu Hypnosis.
Okay, wonderful. And speaking of impromptu hypnosis, I mean, people think, okay, I'm going to do that for a gimmick with my friends, but where's my social life now? Everything has changed. But this can be used also, maybe even in situations at home, where everyone is locked up together and one needs ways to diffuse a situation, especially with teenagers who have literally all of their rights taken away and continue to have their rights taken away for the health, quote unquote, of others. So with that, I mean,
I thought we weren't going to get political.
I know. We got on the subject. With that, what would you, are there any little like sneaky hacks that you could, or tips, should I say, that you could give someone in a case of that impromptu hypnosis to diffuse a situation, for example, that might, at home or wherever? We obviously can't give advice. If anyone's going through any kind of domestic violence, please find a way to reach out to an authoritative figure. However, if it's something that's just more of a moody teenager or whatever situation that it can help, what would you give us a tip?
Yeah, that's interesting. So impromptu can be used, as well as having fun and doing silly things. You can use impromptu hypnosis in your coaching, in your teaching, in your delivering from stage when you're presenting. It's just words, it's just imagination, using them in a particular way. When we're at home, look out for those, understand that we are being triggered and that response is automatic, and that when we are in an emotional state, this would be my little hack, when we're in an emotional peak, we seem to be more responsive to suggestions that are coming our way. Now, perhaps there's a limit to that when someone has gone into full-on rage mode, but on a more positive side, look out for moments where your loved ones experience, even for a second or two, an emotional spike. It could be they laugh, it could be they get some good news, it could be something else has happened and broken that moment. Follow that up with a positive suggestion. It will just kind of sail straight past them. It will just seem like it was part of the conversation, but think of it, you're just like going to wait for this little gate to open, and then you're going to throw in your little Trojan suggestions about how things are going to be, and you'll see things can improve.
Really improve. Yeah. Saying that, it makes sense that when we're in an emotional state, saying something like, "Oh, you're useless" or whatever is really very
this is very it bad. Because when we're in a heightened emotional state, on the downside, we know this, from neuroscience these days, is that you tend to engage in black and white thinking, meaning it's this or that.
Oh yes.
Right? So that's why your reasoned arguments are not going to get through. You're appealing to their frontal lobes, and they're not really that fired up at that point in time. So you need to defuse emotion to have logical conversations. But if someone's in an emotional state, then just fire an arrow in there. The other thing I'd say comes from Albert Ellis. It was brought to my mind by a hypnotherapist called Jürgen Rasmussen. And this is the power of changing the word must to prefer. I'd prefer it if you took your plates through to the kitchen. I'd prefer it if you stopped playing your games at 9 o'clock. And then give up. Like, if you insist upon it, if it must be, and I've been fair and I've warned you 3 times that this is what was, then you're going to have conflict with yourself, with others, and with the world. You know, I'd prefer it if I recorded stuff every day. Prefer it. I'm not going to beat myself up about it. I'd prefer it if, you know, my son put his shoes away. I prefer it if the world stopped going crazy. But
yeah, I prefer it if the media did their job and less fear mongering. I would prefer it if they'd use actual research and science to back up their statements. But that's a whole different thing. So we start at home, people. Let's appeal to our family. Let's appeal to ourselves. And like Anthony said, like, use the right language. Use the loving language of prefer instead of must, have to, you know, and those sort of thing, tones. And obviously, surrounding yourself with a situation where you're not in fight or flight mode is going to always be helpful. So maybe have that discussion when you're not having the television on.
Don't make that decision. Don't make the decision in that emotional state. It will rarely be a good one.
So, and you mentioned arrow, and I am so excited because I actually watched your dad talking about the arrow technique, which is a minuscule regression. It's more of this is a state where you decided to binge eat and you're going to get through it really quickly with this like arrow. So, do you want to sort of give everyone a little information about that?
I'd love to. So many years ago, maybe more than a decade now, my dad came up with a very brief intervention for helping people who are in chronic physical pain. So they may, you know, how bad is it? Let's say 10 out of 10. And within 5 minutes, often enough, they would say 0. If not, they would say it's significantly reduced. There's no regression, actually. It's pure symbolism and dissociation. A person is present with their pain. They imagine drifting out of their body. A target, an archery type target, is used to represent the pain. They are propelled through it into a place. They experience an overwhelming sense of love. They think of the loved ones, things like that. And they are then encouraged to reintegrate with their body only as quickly as these changes are made. It takes a few seconds longer than it took me then to actually deliver this technique, but not many, maybe a couple of minutes in total. It is seemingly miraculous for providing that relief. There's no need to figure it out. There's no need to find out where it started. There's no need to have that kind of understanding. Instead, where are you at right now? You know, I think what it does is when we are maintaining a pain, physical or emotional, there's things we're doing, and they all kind of take the form of attention. So we might be catastrophizing. You know, that this is only going to get worse. That we may be meaning making. That means this. That means I can't work. We're probably running a sort of loop of less than helpful dialogue. I say running, it's running. Yeah. It's not like you're doing it. That little voice in your head is not you. It's just commenting and completing this loop. So if we can stop that, if we can stop catastrophizing, stop meaning making, change your internal dialogue, and instead do what people do well, who do cope with extremely challenging conditions. Some of them dissociate. They learn to dissociate from that area of their body, or even their body completely, or even the room they're in, mentally imagining that. They may distract themselves, put their attention elsewhere. Even just looking away from the site of an injection reduces its intensity by 25%. Mm-hmm. So we can distract ourselves. And we also, some people will naturally use symbolism. Their migraine is pulsing and it's red, and they breathe in blue and it kind of feels a bit better. So we can use symbolism, and the arrow accomplishes all of those things within a couple of minutes. That may not be why it works, but these ingredients are there, and it's easy to learn. And it's actually, I didn't share that link with you, but we will. It's available for free in an app called Painkiller, PAINKILLR.org. So we've had thousands of people use it. It records your scores before and after. There's research being done into its effectiveness as we speak. Wow. Because
Yeah, no, I know. I tried it.
Anyone can deliver the technique. You don't need to be a therapist to do it.
Right.
And you can also self-apply it. So somewhere between the two is just listen to an audio of my dad delivering it, and that will help.
Perfect. Well, we'll definitely have that link on LifeHakx.com. That's with a K and an X. And I definitely would recommend Anthony Jacquin and his father's programs, especially now. Find techniques like Anthony has to offer that, the mind is a powerful thing. It can control everything. Breathing can control your blood flow. It can control pain, nerve endings. You can re-heal parts of your mind. There's so many things, and body. There's so many things that can be done. And so I definitely recommend that you check out anthonyjacquin.com or the Jacquin Hypnosis Academy.com on LifeHakx.com. Anthony, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for being on LifeHakx.
Thank you. I will continue this conversation again, I'm sure.
Yes.
Thanks for listening.
Saved my life. Last night a DJ saved my life. Yeah.
LifeHakx. LifeHakx.com. That's with a K and an X on Radio X.